So guys, what is paradox of thrift? Paradox basically means contradiction. So there is a contradiction of thrift means, what is thrift? When you are saving. So is saving good or bad? And we say saving is kind of like good because when people save more, they will increase their consumption possibilities in the future. In a way, saving is good. But also, when you save, you put the money in the bank and that results in funding for investments. So saving, we believe, is desirable. But if all the members in the society decide to save, we believe this may not be good. Why? Because if everyone is saving at the same time, what will that do? That can harm the economy. So I want to show you this through a diagram. So let's write paradox or contradiction of saving or thrift. The opposite of thrift is somebody who's spendthrift, who spends a lot, but somebody who's thrifty is somebody who's saving. So if saving goes up, you guys, we believe consumption will fall. And when consumption goes down, AE will fall. Remember, AE is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So AE will fall. And if AE falls, then via the multiplier, through the multiplier, guys, through the multiplier, your GDP will fall. Isn't that true? Isn't that true, guys? So we feel if the saving is happening, it can make an economy shrink. So the GDP of the economy will go down as a result of this rise in saving. But that's not the end of it, because when your savings are going up and GDP is going down, firms will suddenly realize that the demand for their goods isn't strong enough. Isn't that true? They will realize this, that they should not invest that much because the GDP is shrinking. As a result of this, guys, what will happen is the firms will reduce investment. Why? Because they'll be like, it's not worthwhile to invest. So when the investment go down, again AE falls, and this would mean that via the multiplier, you will see GDP to fall, and this can lead to what we call in macro, we call this will lead to a recession. So falling AD will lead to a recession in the economy. And the multiplier will basically increase that kind of a recession because your economy continuously see a decline. And like we were talking about business confidence and consumer confidence. So in a way, we say while saving could be good, if everyone saves, you might end up hurting yourself. Why? Because if everyone is saving, GDP will fall, and you might get unemployed as a reason. Because if the economy starts to shrink, you may get unemployed, and your savings, which you were saving for the future, you might end up using them right now because you don't have the money to begin with. So while we say saving is encouraging, but not everyone should save. There should be people who should be spending as well. Now, in terms of a diagram, guys, we want to show you this in terms of a diagram. Am I going to move on? Yeah? Yeah. So when you look at the diagram, let's make both the saving and withdrawal function as well as AE function. Okay. So that will be good for us to show both of them together. So this is my AE is equal to I. And I'm saying right now, your AE is high, like AE naught, right? And this is corresponding to, let's say, Y naught, where you have savings S naught, and investment is I naught. Okay, so let's label it AE, Y, Y, and W comma J. So guys, first thing first, what happens? Your AE falls because people are saving more. Okay, so the first is your AE falls when people are saving more. So you go to AE1, people are saving more. So this is a fall of consumption. Now look at what is happening here. When you go to Y1, here the saving is going up. Okay, so when saving go up with the same investment, look at this, guys. You do agree with me? Okay, wait, this is happening. AE fell down because saving is going up and consumption is going down. So saving is going up and consumption is going down, and so we go to Y1. So GDP is falling, but then investment will fall. It's okay. You can read later. So this is Y2, and we are at this point. Okay. The second fall of AE happens because investment is going down. Firms are cutting down on your investment, and as a result of that, you will have your investment function going down. Now, too many lines, and one would wonder why are we doing this? Just for our concept to get understood. Yes. Sorry? A not A1, A2. It was here. Then A went down to A1. So you move from A point to B point to C point. Ending is this one? This one, yeah. Oh, from here? Oh, this is because this is the A is equal to Y. This is the 45-degree line. And this is A is equal to, like A C plus I line. So this has an A component as well. Okay, so cut down consumption, saving went up. So here, guys, you were starting at point A, then we went to point B, and then we went to point C. Okay, now do we need to draw so much lines in the exam? And the answer is you will be better off with this diagram only. You will need to draw, but this could be good enough. Okay, well, and somebody who wants to really show off and impress the examiner about the knowledge, they should make the second diagram as well. Okay, so this is really easy. A shifting downward. This has a lot more things happening, but it's just useful to know. At first consumption went down, and that's why saving went up, because consumption and saving are interrelated. And then when the investment went down, then I moved the investment function. Got it? Are we good? Questions, guys? The definition of inelastic good is more about demand side investment. Demand side should stay the same. And while you saying I agree with you, but the idea is this, that we're looking at the whole macro picture. So we can't really distinguish between few goods. But sir, आपने A is equal to Y so that means कि मेरा expenditure to the economy में चलेगा. Expenditure and income are same. But this is more like a reference because expenditure and income are never same. You're also saving as well. So this is the true expenditure. This is the expenditure where income was same, which means this was your point where A, your expenditure is equal to income. Make sense? So this line assumes that AE is always equal to Y, when in reality AE is never equal to Y. AE has sometimes is more than Y, sometimes it's less than Y. So, but if AE is equal to Y, the equilibrium was happening here. Because ultimately your expenditure and income should match. Your current expenditure should match your income. So in other words, this is like an income line. Make sense? So yeah, some expenditure may not change, but we are looking at the whole economy. So we feel cutting down consumption may affect this, and then investment will also cut down. Generally, right now, for example, in COVID times, investments are low. Generally, for all goods, and the answer is for many goods, it is going down. Like for example, if people are not really investing enough as they should be. Okay, so I want to go back to now to the thing. Um, if you're unable to draw this part of the diagram, it's okay, don't worry about it, but this is easy. Just make the AE fall first because of consumption, then because of investment. And I think that's what you need to focus on. So, guys, if we wrote this here that, you know, but if all the members in the society decide to save, this may not be good. An increase in savings by the society results in simultaneous decrease in consumption and aggregate expenditure, which via the multiplier leads to a more than proportionate decrease in national income. Make sense? Uh, Multiplier will make the effect to become larger. However, lower consumption can also discourage firms to invest. A reduction in investment results in income to decrease further. As can be seen, a rise in saving results in fall in consumption, which can cause the economy to fall into a recession. So we fall into dampening of the AD, and incomes are falling and unemployment is rising, other things being equal. This phenomenon of higher saving leading to a lower national income is called the paradox of thrift. It's like the contradiction of saving. We felt the saving is good, but it's not good when everyone decides to save. Make sense? Countries that are pessimistic about about future, or countries that have very large saving happening tend to also be slow in recovering from recessions. A point in case is Japan, who has a very high saving culture, and as a result, it's really difficult for Japan to come out of recession despite the government reducing interest rate and so on, because pessimistic mindset means people are not consuming more, which means they're saving more and consuming less. Make sense, guys? Are we good? Okay. This is the diagram. So let's talk about another thing, which is called the investment and the accelerator theory. So this is a theory. It comes a lot in MCQs. This is another point of view, which I want to talk about. The accelerator theory basically argues this, that investment is basically an important determinant of income. So far, if you look at from the Keynesian perspective, Keynesians said this, you know, Keynesian's argument is this, that when I go up, they say why go up. Isn't that true? When investment go up, they say why go up, and they said via the multiplier, right? They said this. This is what the theory is. But the accelerator theory says this, that there could be a possibility that when Y goes up, you will see investment to also go up. Why is that so? They believe that when your incomes are rising, firms may have a need to invest more. Are you all with me? Because they'll be like, you know what? Because incomes are rising, maybe stock of capital goods may not be sufficient enough, and therefore you need to invest more. And they came up with something called via the accelerator coefficient. So what is an accelerator coefficient? They'll say it is some factor by which you will see a GDP rise to make investment to go up. So via the accelerator. Okay, so what is the accelerator theory? Accelerator theory says this, that, via the accelerator, or another name for this is that income output ratio. Okay, so they say this, that I is some variable alpha times change in y. Okay, and I'm going to talk about this in detail. So for example, if your alpha is 3 and change in y will be, let's say, 100, they say that the change in I will be, should I change in I? Change in I will be 300. Makes sense? So they say this, that investment can go up. Okay, why is that so? So guys, think of this way. If if for example you do not have enough machinery and demand is rising, won't you invest more? Won't you buy more capital stock, right? uh, and one argument could be, what if you have spare capacity? Then you may not. If your current machinery, current capital stock has spare, like for example, if there are empty seats here, I may not need to have another classroom. But if this classroom is full, then I may need to say, you know what, now I may need to sort of increase the class size. So that's one thing. Secondly, if every year sorry guys, something happened to the internet. Now it's fine. So we let me go back to our first time. Okay, wait. Sorry. Sorry, guys. So, sorry for the delay. So, what basically somebody was asking us, if what do we mean by investment increasing at? So, if GDP is rising every year at a constant rate, right? Will I be right to say that your induced investment means investment that happens because GDP going up? So, investment will go up. Investment will not change. In other words, your number of machinery that you have will be sufficient every year because your GDP is rising at a constant rate. But if GDP is rising at an increasing rate, suddenly you may need to have higher amount of machinery. So this is because when GDP is rising at a constant rate, we said firms can continue to buy the same number of machines. If I require, for example, GDP rise by, like same rate, I keep on buying the same machinery every year to meet that rate. But if GDP rises at a higher rate, then your investment level will go up. Why? Because suddenly you'll be like, so think of this way. Let me show you a table. So guys, look at this. If the first year your annual output was 10 and the change in output was 0, next year the annual output is again 10, so change in output is 0. So if for 10, given my alpha was, for example, 3, the ratio was 3, then 3 times 10, I need 30 capital stock. Okay, are you all with me? Next year, annual output was again 10, so I require the same capital stock. But what if the third year my annual output is 11, which would mean now my change in output is 1, which means that I need now 33 machines, which means I need to have a new investment of 3. Got it? So this means output increase at an increasing rate. What about fourth year? It's 13. Then again, 13 means change in output is 2, and 2 times 3 would mean I need 6 more, which means, or 13 times 3 is 39. Make sense? So when the output is increasing at an increasing rate, your new investment need will go up. And this is why this is called induced. Induced means opposite of exogenous or autonomous, which means induced by or affected by GDP. More GDP, more investment, but the key here is that GDP should be rising at an increasing rate. If every year GDP rises at the same rate, you don't need capital stock to go up more than it was last year. Capital stock will only go up more than last year when the new investment is going up, when the output is rising at an increasing rate. You get it? Does that make sense? So the table tells us that rising output induces investment expenditure. In years where the change in output is 0, there is no change in investment. But when the change in output is more than what it was last year, you need more machinery to begin with. So this theory is kind of like an opposite to the idea that pehle humne kaha tha, because in the previous discussion we said this, that investment is not dependent on Y. In fact, when investment go up, GDP goes up. But this theory says this, but when GDP goes up, and it says this, let me write this down, guys. If Y rises at an increasing rate, then there will be a rise in, investment. Are you all with me? There will be a rise in investment, and by a factor alpha, which alpha basically means capital to output, ratio. This is something which I write wrong. Can you change this, guys? It's not income to output ratio, it's capital to output ratio. Okay, capital to output ratio. Okay, so one of the questions that somebody asked me is that how do we come to know this is the alpha? How do you know the value of 3? So historically, what you do is you find out every time GDP goes up, how many machinery do you require in the economy, how much is capital ratio changing, and then you can say, okay, this is the capital to output ratio. Make sense? So if I find this factor, so guys, the accelerator theories, our main sort of argument is this, that GDP goes up at an increasing rate, you will see I to go up. And this comes a lot in MCQ because they want to test your knowledge. What if GDP goes at an at the same rate? Then investment will not go up. As compared to last year, you will have the same amount of capital stock. Only when GDP is going up more than what it was last year, you will see the investment to go up. Make sense? What are the limitations of this? It doesn't really come in exam, but I'm just going to quickly go through limitations. Number one is this, that an increase in income does not always result in greater percentage change in demand for capital goods. Why? Because sometimes you have spare capacity. What if GDP is growing, but I have spare capacity? Will I invest now? No. So that's the first problem. This analysis does not take into account basically spare capacity. Number one. Number two, the model assumes the capital to output ratio is constant, the number three. But what if this change over time? Like what if new technology comes? New technology comes, maybe capital becomes more productive, not three, but four or five. So another problem is this, that the model assumes a capital to output ratio, which is constant, but it could be changing because of technology. Okay. The third thing is that the model also ignores time lags, which means basically delays. For example, income goes up, investment doesn't quickly go up. Why? Because sometimes you're arranging machine, like if you're living in Pakistan and if you are basically importing machinery, it may take many months for that sort of import to happen. Make sense? Your plant may take much longer, maybe 2 to 3 years for you to set up the plant. So maybe the model does not assume that there could be delays that can take place because you're not going to quickly make the investment go up when your output is going up. Got it? But quickly, this model assumes that investment is, again, keyword, remember, investment is induced, which means dependent on Y and not autonomous. Okay. Tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll build on this concept. I'm going to show you some MCQs, and I will also then basically link that to multiplier, because there is a what we call multiplier accelerator interaction. We will learn about that too, and then I'm going to show you some essay questions which test our knowledge. Okay. Any questions, guys? I'm sorry. Yes, I mean, we can do that.